I pledge allegiance Thanks. If you are an elected official or if you have officially filed for office, we invite you to the mic on the other side of all the other mics and introduce yourselves. Sadly, this is not a time to campaign. If you would just give your name and the office for which you're running or the office in which you serve. For those of you who don't know, or perhaps this is your first time, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. That means we neither support nor do we oppose any political party nor any candidate or elected official. And it's really small ways that we reinforce that. One is if it's a sanctioned LWVOC event, we don't wear any campaign regalia, as it were. No t-shirts, no buttons, no campaigning. And in this way, very subtly, we can reinforce that we are nonpartisan because we won't clap for everyone. We will clap for everyone at the end. I'm sorry, we won't clap for anyone individually. But at the end, we will absolutely let loose. Fair enough? All right.
Good deal. Thank you so much, everyone. Good afternoon. Representative Dr. Ana Villas-Cavani, proudly serving District 42 in the state legislature, and I welcome you to the district. Thank you to the League for facilitating this important, as always, conversation.
Sorry, I already forgot. Orange County Commissioner Nicole Wilson, clearly not a great rules follower.
Good morning, everyone. Carlos Guillermo Smith, State Senator, Florida Senate District 17. Good to be here.
Hi, everyone. Orange County Vice Mayor and Orange County District 5 Commissioner Kelly Sumrad. Thank you.
Good morning, Stephanie Vanos, Orange County School Board member for District 6.
Bonsoir. My name is Heather Pierre Joseph. I'm a proud Haitian immigrant, a proud single mom, and I'm running for Orange County Commission District 6. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Martalí Irizarry, candidate for Orange County Commission District 3. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tamika Hampton-Johnson, and I'm a candidate for Circuit Court Judge, Group 1.
Good afternoon. My name is Christina Arguelles. I'm running for Circuit Court Judge for Orange and Osceola, Group 2.
Good morning, my name is Chelsea Simmons. I'm running for Orange County Judge, Group 19.
Hello, everyone. I am Felipe Souza Lazavalette, and I am running to succeed the amazing Representative Ana Escamani, and I am a proud member of the League.
Hello, Barbie Hardin Hall. I'm running for U.S. Congress in Florida's 11th Congressional District.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Ziegler, and I'm running for Orange County Commission District 3.
Buenas tardes. My name is Suzanne Pena. I'm running for OCPS School District 3. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Commissioner-elect Yesenia Barron for Apopka City Council Commission Seat 4. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Aaron Emmanuel Lewis, and I am proudly running to be the first District 7 Orange County Commissioner.
I'm Judy Garabo Hayes, and I'm running for Orange County Judge in Group 21.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Asma Azam, and I am running for Orange County Judge in Group 5.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ayana Barrow, and I'm running for Orange County Judge, Group 3.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am your twice duly elected State Attorney, Monique Worrell, and I am so proud to not be running for anything right now. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Well, apparently, just like NASA, did you see all the women? We are also for you, men, as well. I just thought that was a pretty cool representation of how we need parity up in those offices. I also wanted to point out that we have Orlando's very first woman comptroller in our midst. Martha Haney, would you stand, please? I have a quick favor too, since I'm the one who gets to have the mic. If anyone, any member is going to storage in the next day or two, would you please come see me? I have a huge favor to ask of you. Thank you. We'd like to recognize our sponsors now. Our bronze sponsor is the Honorable Cynthia McKinnon. That's the beauty of getting to be first. We will actually hold our applause and all of them will be recognized at the end. That's on me. Our silver sponsors are Lynn and David Barrelsman, Voting Voices, Michelle Levy, Laurie and Richard Walk, Charlie Williams, Caroline Emmons Schramm. The Kindred Three, Joan Irwin, Sue Foreman, and Lee Rambo Kemp. Friends of the League, the Honorable Fred Lawton and Shelley Lawton, the Honorable Bob LeBlanc and Joni LeBlanc, and Dr. Gloria Picar. And finally, we are grateful to our visionary sponsors, Jennifer and Phil Anderson. Would all of you please stand so that we can acknowledge you and give our thanks? Josie? My pacifier water. Sorry about that. I was just showing you my water. Oh, okay. Quietly and steadily, Florida has become the nation's leader in immigration arrests. According to news reports, Florida has arrested and detained more than 40,000 immigrants since the start of 2025. The Miami field office is #1 in the nation, higher by far than Texas. So why is that? Well, as you might know, Florida has taken an aggressive approach to deportation and has deputized multiple state agencies like the Highway Patrol and Fish and Wildlife officers with authority to make immigration arrests. State law also requires local officials and sheriff's offices to cooperate with deportation efforts. And it has resulted in many arrests of immigrants who have no criminal history or have committed only minor offenses. Even staunch law and order officials such as Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd have publicly criticized some immigration policies as being too heavy-handed. Today, we're going to take a deeper dive into immigrant rights and why they should matter to everyone, because tactics used against immigrants today may be used against citizens tomorrow. We've watched it happen in Minneapolis, on the West Coast, and elsewhere. Today, this hits really close to home because a friend and league member and also one of the co-sponsors and advisors to the UCF chapter league is here to tell her own story of what her partner recently encountered. Excuse me.
Hi everyone, my name is and about 2 weeks ago, my partner was detained by ICE in front of our apartment complex. He was heading to work like usual at 7 in the morning. He got in his car, and right before he could pull out of the parking lot, he heard a knock on his door. And he saw that it was, well, they had police on their vests, but no other identification. They identified themselves as ICE, and they asked him for his name. They asked for his documents. He complied. He showed all of his documents that were up to date and valid, and they still decided to detain him. When they detained him, they took him to the Orlando office, ICE office, and they were interrogating him, asking him if he was part of any gangs. They made him take off his clothes to see if he had any tattoos that associated him with any gangs. They went through his phone. They were asking him, like, you know, we're going to ask you a question, answer it as fast as you can. And he mentioned he's a college student at Valencia. He works 2 jobs. He follows all the laws and rules of Florida. He has 0 criminal record. He is from Venezuela. He came here in 2021 seeking freedom from his country and the dictatorship. He protested in Venezuela against the dictatorship and as a college student there. And he was targeted by the government in Venezuela, arrested, tortured verbally and physically, and he also, they were also looking for him when he left. So it is a danger for him to even consider going back to Venezuela. The ICE agents were calling him a criminal, illegal, a martyr to his own country, and they had pressured him plenty of times to sign a self-deportation order for him to go home. That same day, they transferred him to Chrome Miami Detention Center, placed him in high-level security, amongst other people who did have criminal records. He heard from guards and other DHS employees that they had no reason why he was there, but they continued to detain him and place him in this situation. And he spent 6 days in the Miami Chrome Detention Center. And during there, of course, he has never been placed in this situation. He was intimidated by other inmates while he was there. Even when I was talking to him on the phone, an agent asked him if he wanted to self-deport himself. They want to get them while they're vulnerable, talking to their families, because they want their bonuses. They were celebrating when they were bringing in more detainees to the office, and they were calling them their bonuses and dehumanizing all of them. We had, on the day he was detained, and they had filed a habeas corpus on that day. If we had waited one more day, he probably would still be in the Chrome Detention Center. And because of that, a judge granted his release, and he was released last week on Monday in the middle of the day. And he was released right there in Miami, and it was our job to figure out how to get him back to Orlando. They made sure he got into an Uber, and after that, it's his problem, how to get back, although he was there for absolutely no reason. So during that time, of course, had to coordinate with his job, with his school. He missed classes. He couldn't do any of his schoolwork. Luckily, he was able to keep his job. And now he's back, but he's dealing with all of the PTSD, the emotional distress that he has during that time, and even bringing up stuff from Venezuela that he had felt. And he's just trying to cope. And 2 weeks ago, I was in my apartment with my dog, trying to figure stuff out, crying, talking to his family. And now we're here today, still feeling the effects of what it was 2 weeks ago. So when I saw Hot Topics today and I knew it was going to be about immigration, I wanted to be able to share our story because this is happening in our communities. All of you guys care about immigration, obviously, that's why you're here. But if you have any friends or family that may still be on the fence on ICE, feel free to share our story and the impact that that has made, because it can really happen to anyone at any point, and no one can prepare you for that. So thank you all for listening.
We are here with our neighbors. Our love for each other will carry us through.
Feel free to sing with us.
We are here with our neighbors. Our love for each other will carry us through. are here with our voices. Our love for each other will carry us through. We are here.
We are here
with our voices.
with our voices.
Our love for each other will carry us through. We are here.
We are here
with our sorrow. Our love for each other will carry us through. We are here.
We are here
with our sorrow. Our love for each other will carry us through. We are here.
We are here
with our anger. Our love for each other will carry us through. We are here.
We are here
with our anger. Our love for each other will carry us through. We are here.
We are here
with our courage. Our love for each other will carry us through. We are here.
We are here
with our courage. Our love for each other will carry us through. Our love for each other will carry us through. One more time. Our love for each other will carry us through. Thank you. You have officially become part of the Orlando Singing Resistance. You're welcome. And if you want to join us, I think there's a QR code out on the...
You can find me on the way out. I'll be standing with the QR code. We would love to have you join us at our next meetup rehearsal.
I'm Sarah, this is Rachel. As Singing Resistance folks, would you raise your hands and wave? There's
there
many
are
already here.
quite a
Yes,
few
thank you all
among
so
us
much
today.
for helping us. And please come join us, whether it's at a rehearsal or out in the streets.
Our moderator today is Kate Rodriguez. She's an assistant professor at Barry University School of Law. She also created and currently directs a new immigration clinic and teaches immigration law. Kate, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jane, and good morning to everyone. I am so excited to be here today and to be part of the conversation about this very important topic. So we often talk about immigration as a political issue, as a legal framework, as a policy issue. And while all of those things are true, at its heart, immigration is about people. And so I want to thank Victoria for starting this conversation today with this very powerful and very important reminder for all of us about what we're talking about here today. And so when we talk about immigrants' rights, we're talking about people's rights. Immigrants are inextricably intertwined in all parts of our communities. And so what we're talking about today affects our homes, our neighborhoods, our schools, our workplaces. and every aspect of our lives. And so thank you all so much for being here today and for recognizing the importance of this conversation that we're having. So I'm going to start today by introducing our panelists. First of all, Josephine Arroyo practices law in Florida and in the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida. She has served as a volunteer attorney for the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, and she's also an assistant professor teaching law and ethics at Rollins College and has received several teaching awards. Welcome, Josephine. Second, we have Ryan Gillespie. He has been a local government reporter at the Orlando Sentinel for more than 10 years, and he has reported on nearly every community in Central Florida and on a range of topics from local politics and homelessness to immigration. Welcome, Ryan. And finally, we have Erica Gomez Tejeda, who is the organizing director for the Hope Community Center. She also coordinates the Immigrants Are Welcome Here Coalition. She is a Colombian immigrant, labor leader, and community organizer whose life work has been shaped by her relationships with immigrant families, workers, and faith communities committed to dignity, justice, and opportunity. Welcome, Erica. So I'm going to start with a big picture question for all of our panelists today. So we've heard about the federal government's increased action on immigration enforcement and the state of Florida's unprecedented cooperation in that process. I'd like to talk about what the effect of immigrant arrests and detentions has been on our local community here in Central Florida. So Erica, if you would start us off on that question.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's so incredible to be part of the cool kids on the block here and there. Hope Community Center is based out of the Apopka community. We service about 20,000 community members a year. And our community has been very directly impacted, both at the local level and just in general. As you can imagine, we consistently receive phone calls from family members who are trying to find out where their loved ones are. We've been very privileged that we, through the coalition work that we've done with the Immigrants Are Welcome Here, have been able to win policy that allows us to see when folks are detained in the county jail. But outside of our county jail, we don't really know where people are. There is more ICE activity in the communities that I think most people are aware of. How many of you have seen ICE in your neighborhoods? Okay. And what if I tell you that all of law enforcement, especially the Florida Highway Patrol, the State of Finance, the Fish and Wildlife, are also part of it? So for us, when our community sees any police entity, there's no difference in our community's minds between ICE and the police. Without any Border Patrol or ICE agents in our communities, Florida would still have 5,900 deputized ICE agents through our local law enforcement. And as you can imagine, this is having a drastic effect on parents' ability to take their children to work, families being able to survive when the breadwinner has been taken away unfairly. We've seen people not driving and therefore having to give up their jobs. And we're obviously feeling the fear and the terror in our communities. So it's had a very direct impact.
Josephine, anything there you'd like to add?
Sure. Thank you so much for having us today. It's such an honor to be in front of all of you, and I love seeing the room packed on such an important topic. Yes, obviously, our firm is a criminal defense firm. Never in a million years did we think that we would be filing over 40 petitions for habeas corpus, which is as ancient as time, right? The way that these writs started was to control the king, to ensure that there was a separation of powers and there was due process and you couldn't, detain people illegally. So we started seeing it obviously with targeting Hispanics, Latinos. That's how Ryan and I met, the driving while Latino. We noticed a lot of people getting arrested for no valid driver's license. They get to jail and then boom, there's an ICE hold. And then depending on what kind of immigration process, if any, would determine whether or not we could help on the immigration side. It wasn't until this year that we saw all of these illegal arrests and detentions from FHP primarily, and then Customs and Border Patrol targeting people mostly on the highway, telling them a tag light is out, or maybe they didn't stop fully, or sometimes no traffic infraction at all. This is having an impact, a ripple effect on families. I'm having people that I haven't spoken to in so long calling me saying, hey, my babysitter just got detained. Hey, my so-and-so's father just got detained. Hey, my legislative aide's boyfriend just got detained. And so this is an impact that everyone, if you haven't felt it close to you, you will at some point very soon in the near future, and that's a very harsh reality to accept and understand.
Ryan?
Thank you guys for having me. I'm honored to be here. And yeah, just to echo some of what was already said, it was said before we got up here actually that the ICE field office, that's the Miami office is what they're called, is far and away the most arrests in the country. And I want you guys to understand that Miami actually is the entire state of Florida. It covers Florida, it covers the U.S. Virgin Islands, it covers, I believe, Puerto Rico as well. So that's here, right? That's in Seminole County, it's in Osceola, it's down in Miami, it's everywhere. And I personally don't know a lot of examples like what Victoria shared earlier of actually ICE customs agents pulling up and targeting somebody essentially. But, we might see this every day unknowingly driving around. Anytime you're on a highway and you see the Florida Highway Patrol, just the data reflects that some number of those traffic stops for going 80 and a 70 or, maybe not using your turn signal could result in a detention. And the reason that is when the change of administration happened last year, Customs and Border Patrol and ICE surged millions more of these warrants into the computer system. So if you're a local law enforcement officer and you're interacting with somebody for essentially any reason, I like to use myself as an example. If I were to run a stop sign and any police officer were to pull me over and I had one of these warrants in the system, I would become detained. So that's generally how that is going down by and large. And when you read some of the files that we've reported on, one that Josephine and I actually talked about last summer, that I think I'll remember this one for the rest of my life. It was one of the first ones we read, and it was an officer. I think it was a St. Cloud Police Department officer. Was at a Wawa gas station down in St. Cloud. Was getting gas for his car, and noticed, the way it was said in the report is, I noticed somebody walking briskly through the parking lot. And he found that to be odd, detained the person, eventually path to deportation happens. So so this happens a number of ways, and it doesn't, and it's things that somebody like me would not happen to if I was walking briskly through a Wawa parking lot.
Thank you. So we have seen significant changes at the national level over the last several weeks with the firing of Christine Nome and Pam Bondi and the confirmation of Mark Wayne Mullins as the new Secretary for Homeland Security. And so I'd like to ask the panelists, what changes have we seen locally over the last weeks and months? Are there particular groups that are being targeted, and has there been any shifts in how enforcement is taking place? And Erica, I'll come to you again first on this one.
Yeah, so definitely in the last month, we've seen a change that we thought was unique to Orange County, and then as we talk to partners that are statewide, are realizing that they're actually happening statewide, and it definitely had to do with this transition period that we are entering. First, our Faith Leaders Network does 2 accompaniments a month at the Immigration Center where people are reporting for their check-ins. December, January, February, we were actually seeing people not being detained. That they were getting their appointments for much later dates, 6 months to a year. And then all of a sudden in March, we saw an increase, a remarkable increase on the number of folks who were coming out of these meetings with detention, deportation orders. And that's when you have to buy your own airplane ticket in order to be deported. You have to come back, show up with your suitcase and your children, and then be on your way. Otherwise, they will detain you and then do the thing. We also saw at the jail a huge decrease. We had gone from 130 and 140 to all of a sudden 8 or 10 people being held at the jail. And originally, we thought it had to do with Mayor Deming's order, and then realized that what was happening across the state, where now the counties were directly transporting the detainees to either the Everglades or Bakers or Glades. So we're not sure what's happening there. I think for us it was reported that it had to do more with a new contractor coming in because there's been so many deaths. We're at a record number of deaths for immigrant detainees. And by the way, Florida also leads in that. And then the last thing we're seeing is the detentions. We're seeing more violations with passengers who are being arrested for absolutely no reason. So people that aren't even driving are now being detained at higher numbers, taken immediately to the ERO office, as was said by Victoria, and then moved into the detention center. So there's something definitely happening. We don't know what it signals, but there's been a very marked difference in the last month.
And Josephine, I'll come to you next again.
Thank you. So in January, it was the first time that we did a petition for habeas corpus, and ironically, it was a Venezuelan, and it happened about 3 days after Maduro was taken out, and we invaded Venezuela, and we saw a huge increase of Venezuelans being targeted and arrested immediately after that in January. The recent change, I'm not sure if this is coincidence or not, but we did this week just receive 3 notices of appeal for our clients that were released, immediately released from the petitions of habeas corpus. So not sure if that was coincidence or if it was a direction of new administration. In terms of just the detentions overall, it's been pretty significant this year compared to last year. We really weren't seeing a lot of unlawful detentions. They were mostly connected with some sort of crime, even if it's a very little crime, such as, no valid driver's license or finding some reason to say that they were resisting arrest. So that increase of unlawful detentions has been significant. I agree with Erica. We just had 4 habeases higher. All 4 of them were in the car. Obviously, 3 of them were not driving. A husband and wife, the husband was driving, and then the wife was detained, even though, and in all of these scenarios, all of our clients, all of the people that we're seeing being detained have their documents on them, right? They are showing them documents, and these agents say, we don't care. A lot of these are asylums from Venezuela, and the conversation is kind of like, oh, well, we took Maduro out. You can go back now. Your asylum no longer works here or is no longer valid. Time is up.
Ryan?
Yeah, and so for the better part of the last year, the Orange County Jail was by and large a regional clearinghouse essentially for immigration arrests. So people who were being picked up in Marion County would end up in Orange County, people in Osceola all the way down to like Okeechobee. And the numbers had gotten pretty out of hand by January of this year. There was, on a given day, like 185 people in the jail with no criminal charges, just an immigration violation. And as was mentioned, the county put its foot down at some point, and Mayor Demings put a limit on the number of people who would be detained there. And so since that happened, the numbers have come way down. I looked this morning, actually, or before we came in here, and last month the average was around 30 per day of people without criminal charges, down from an average of like 150 a couple of months ago. But that doesn't mean that these arrests aren't still happening. It seems, it's hard to quantify this stuff, and it's really hard to know factually. It seems that in a lot of cases they're just bypassing the jail. ICE has an office building on a road called Delegates Drive. It's kind of like an industrial park south of here. And they're taking a lot of people there. I know, I've heard stories of people being kept overnight there. I don't know a lot about the facility. I've driven by it, I've been outside of it, I've never been inside. But it's not built to house people. It's not a detention center, it's not a hotel. It's by and large an office building. So I think a lot of that is happening, and then they're using that as sort of the way station to direct people, whether it's down into Chrome or down to Alligator Alcatraz or up to Baker. So I think that's a big change. The thing that's tricky about all of this stuff is it changes so constantly. In 2 weeks, we could be talking about something totally different.
So Ryan, I'd like to ask you one follow-up question there. So we know that one of the limitations that the mayor imposed on ICE was he stated that he would only hold detainees for the federal government for 72 hours. And we've heard that immigration authorities were checking individuals into and out of the Orange County Jail to get around that limitation.
Yeah, that was one of the more bizarre things that happened last year. And some of it, I wish I knew more about, because they would hold somebody until, say, 71 hours and 26 minutes or something like that, and the van would pull up, and they take a van load of people whose clock was about to expire, and they take them somewhere. I don't know where exactly. I've heard that they just drove them around town for a few hours. I've heard they took them to the ICE office that I was just talking about. And then like 4 hours later, they'd come back and book them in for another 72-hour stint. So somebody who was supposed to be incarcerated for no more than 3 days, in some cases would be in there for 30 days. They would do this 8, 9, 10 times on occasion. And to the point where in January, when the numbers were so high, it was something like 60% of those bookings were repeat bookings. So it wasn't so much of thousands of people being held, it was hundreds of people being held for a lot of days. So that was, when the mayor sent his letter, apparently that stopped immediately, and that's generally what brought the numbers way down. I don't know if it's still happening. I've heard people mention before that maybe there's a couple. I have not been able to corroborate that, so if you know, let me know.
So Erica, I see you nodding.
I said people in this room might know.
We do know, and we had one case in particular that we were very public about. We actually documented it, did videos of us going to the holding site at the jail at the 76-hour mark, while we got a team together for a rapid response to go to the jail with the paperwork showing that it had been 76 hours. That person was held for 99 hours. Then taken to the ER office. As you said, it's not meant to be an overnight site. He was held 2 nights at the ER office. This was the first instance that we've had of that happening, and was then transported down to Glades. What isn't commonly known is that this, for him, he had been stopped at the motor vehicles department showing the registration that had gotten him detained back in December for a speeding violation. And in that time, he was taken in and out to the ER office and back, ER office and back, ER office and back, for a total of 3 times, so 4 violations of his 72 hours. And I'm saying this because we have been told that this was going to stop. and it didn't. This is a person who survived, his family has survived assassination attempts in Colombia. So we have referred to him as JC, not because of repercussions here, but that we don't want the Colombians to know that he is being deported because he didn't want to stay any longer. He has documents, he has a visa, he has working papers, and had been released by an immigration judge because he had the documents and should have been able just to go to the court. And so his is not the only case. We talked yesterday and also with Orlando Center for Justice, where we have our a detention hotline, thanks to some of our partners who have been able to help us. And there's OCJ. And they had 3 other people last week who were also detained beyond the 72 hours. So they're not being taken out and brought back in. They're just being held beyond the 72 hours until someone comes to get them. And this is a huge due process violation. It directly impacts all of us because, as Josephine said, it's not a matter of they're arresting people without reason. They can't just take people off the street without reason. The due process is being thrown out the window, and if we allow it to happen for our immigrant brothers and sisters who are documented, we can be the next ones that then don't have a way of showing that we're supposed to be here. So thank you for that question.
Josephine?
Yes, so the reason we first filed our habeas was because of this problem, was because they actually hired for a bond because he qualified for a bond hearing in immigration court, but he could never get out of the jail. He would get out, go to the ERO office or drive around in the big bus, come back. I think he was rebooked 3 times. One client was rebooked 5 times. The thing that was the most distressing to us is that the jail was keeping all of this as a hush-hush. You would call the jail and they would say, oh, they're not here. What do you mean? I know they're there. I just went to visit them. I know that they're in this cell. Oh, no, they're not here. Oh, they just left this morning. And then when they would come back, and I knew they would come back because they would call from the jail to let us know that they're back, the jail had no record of them. Oh, they're not here yet. And this is, I don't know, many of you have probably seen the speech that I gave where we had to tell the jail where our client was because we had just spoken to her and she had let us know what cell she was in, but the jail had no record of this. So obviously people were being kept in the dark, and there was a significant amount of shenanigans that was happening. Yes, it seems to have stopped or slowed down, but one of our clients did get rebooked, and now I'm hearing this from Erica. So I think it's something that we all have to be very vigilant on, because sometimes when it's hot in the news, they want to be all picture perfect, and then the news changes to another topic, and they start to do these hidden things again. So we need to be watching and continuing the communication to see if it's something that is continuing to happen. Obviously, this is a huge violation of due process and so many constitutional rights to have somebody detained unlawfully and then continuing to bring them back, rebooking them, putting new different booking numbers. Why would you do that? Why would you hide that? You know, that's a question we have to be asking ourselves. What are you hiding? You don't hide unless you're doing something wrong.
So these tactics are obviously having indescribable effects on immigrants and their families and their loved ones. So I want to talk about some of those stories. Erica, could you start us off?
About the stories of?
How these tactics are affecting immigrants and their families.
I mean, in general, like I was mentioning before, we've now had to create a transportation system so that people can get food. We've had to set up systems of support, mental health, priests and reverends and clergy to be able to do pastoral phone calls and accompaniments. We have had more mental health issues in general, like staff, our community, all of us. I was saying this morning that last year was probably, out of 33 years that I've been organizing, the year that I have cried the most on an ongoing basis, just on the level of impotency that you can feel and receiving the phone calls of family members who are, it's a constant, it's a nonstop, and for even our whole team to be part of the community when you're grounded 53 years in a community, the community is not only bound to call you when something happens, they are also expecting you to be speaking up and being in the forefront. And for organizers, it's really difficult for us to be in the forefront because our whole purpose is to organize people to take on and empower themselves as a community in making it happen. So it's had a tremendous impact. As we know, the immigrant community has been weaponized around not just immigration, but around the schools. We are now going into privatization of schools, not just because of the funding, but 7 schools have also closed because of children not going. We have been weaponized to change labor laws, right? They told us that we were the reason why there were less jobs, supposedly, in the economy, and yet they're changing labor laws so that child labor is now on the table on an ongoing basis. So it's definitely had a very direct impact.
Josephine, are there additional impacts that you'd like to talk about?
Yes, I think what Erica said is true. You know, my husband and I experience secondhand trauma every day, and I think sometimes it's, you know, we try to separate ourselves from it, but the tears from mothers, from wives, husbands, daughters, sons, aunts and uncles, because sometimes people flee their country and they don't have their immediate family, but they have, you know, their cousins or their aunts. The amount of pain, we heard Victoria speak about that their experience on a daily basis, and then the question is, why? What am I doing wrong? The first thing that came out of a mother's mouth, the first petition that we won from they ordered immediate release was, thank you. Now I know that I did nothing wrong. The pain that the mother felt when she fled on asylum and her son is attached to her asylum petition, and she thought she did everything right, everything by the book. People are coming here on visas and then they're filing asylums before the visa ends. Technically, the law says that when you file an asylum, your unlawful presence is told. The federal government doesn't seem to accept that or understand that, and they're calling all of them criminals. You know the criminals that I have that's an immigrant? It's a no valid driver's license. Maybe it's a resisting because they didn't want to get out of the car. Okay, so yes, like all of us, you know, maybe there's a DUI or something, but I am not representing murderers and rapists. Those are the citizens that I'm representing, right? Those aren't my immigrant clients. Love my people, but I have Puerto Ricans, I have US citizens, right? I mean, those are really the ones, so it's this sense of why, what am I doing, what's wrong, I'm trying to do everything right, why am I being targeted? The fear that we feel in our Latino and Hispanic community, whether you're an immigrant or not. The other day I bought a car and I didn't pay $6 for my e-pass and they couldn't transfer my tag. And so the tag was reading on my prior car, and I told my husband, you're white with blue eyes, you're gonna drive my car until we get this fixed, because I look Latina, and they'll say, oh, look, maybe she stole the car because it's you know, reading something else. I don't know. I mean, even me, an attorney, I carry my US passport card, right? So that's the fear that you need to understand, that, you know, these families in our communities are truly feeling in this moment, and they need a lot of support.
So We know that ICE received substantial funding last summer, and that nationally, one of the ways that that funding is being used is to lease or buy warehouse space and retrofit that space to detain significant numbers of non-citizens. We know that ICE toured a warehouse here in East Orlando. And so, Ryan, could you speak a little bit about where that stands today?
Yeah, I wish I knew where it stood. Unfortunately, ICE doesn't do a lot of responding to my emails. But no, so at the end of January, they toured this facility out in East Orlando. And if any of you guys have been out there, you can vouch for this. And if you haven't, it might be worth a drive. It is remote. If you take the 528 and you go east and you get off, I think it's at Sunbridge Parkway, and then you drive out into the woods for 5 or 10 minutes, and there it is. So they toured this facility. It's 440,000 square feet. It's huge. They intend to buy it, is my assumption, because they've bought about 11 others around the country. Generally, these warehouses all look the same. I guess the spec warehouse market is pretty, that's pretty consistent, I guess. But so they buy these warehouses at way above market price, and then they plan to spend something like hundreds of millions of dollars on each of these to convert them into detention centers to house anywhere from the Orlando one. The plan would be 1,500 people at a time. Some of the other ones in other parts of the country are as many as 10,000 at a time. And the thing to remember with these warehouses is they're built for essentially like Amazon. They're built for goods with the electric power for goods, the sewage for goods, the water for goods, not for 1,500 people plus staffing and security and whatnot. So it's going to be a pretty substantial undertaking. When the new DHS secretary took over a couple of weeks ago, they put a pause on this effort. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means they're going to pause for 3 or 4 days, and then we're going to wake up on Tuesday morning and there's going to be a deed and they sold the place, or they bought the place. Or I don't know if that means they're abandoning it altogether. I would love to know the answer to that question. The property owner has never answered a phone call from me. The realtor has answered my phone call once and hung up on me. And ICE won't talk about it. So I wish I could tell you definitively where things were. I kind of like to operate under the assumption that it's going to happen at some point. But that's just all it is. It's a guess.
And I'll just add there, we've seen plans for some of the other warehouses that have been purchased and that ICE is moving forward with using to house non-citizens. Those plans include no space for attorney-client meetings. And so there are real concerns about access to counsel as well if a facility like this were to move forward locally. Josephine, I don't know if there's anything you want to add there.
I just want to add that it's clear it's about the numbers. They don't care if they're detaining people unlawfully because they know that there's a good percentage of them that will be vulnerable enough and pressured enough to just voluntarily leave. And I believe that that's the goal. I mean, I had a client hire just a week ago, and unfortunately, sometimes I can't move things as quickly as we would want. And they signed voluntary departure yesterday. That was outside of the advice of counsel and family, and they have papers, they have an asylum, they have a work permit, they have a job. But being in any detention center, I mean, we don't know how we would all feel. I go to the jail just to visit my clients for hours at a time, and trust me, I'm ready to get out after that. So the psychological, the mental health, the toll, the pressure, the positioning that they put them in and say you have no hope, no choice, you're going to get deported as soon as you get out of here, or as soon as you get to a judge, they're going to order your deportation. They get restless. So I feel that this is just another tactic to have a detention center so that they can just continue to take on as many people. And I'm very fearful as to what that would look like if we have a facility to be able to house that many people, because we don't have the facility to house that many people now, and we see the destruction that's happening in our community. I can't even imagine how much enforcement we're going to have as an uptick and increase if we do have that detention center. So it's something that we, again, have to be very vigilant on.
So Florida state law now requires local jurisdictions to cooperate with the federal government and with immigration and customs enforcement, specifically on immigration enforcement. Locally, we have seen our mayor and our county commission pushing back against those requirements and seeking clarity on the scope of those requirements. So Erica, could you talk a little bit about what's going on there?
Yes, so in Orange County, I think Ryan mentioned this earlier, in Orange County we have what's known as an intergovernmental services agreement. The Orange County is one of the few counties where the jail is actually overseen by elected officials and the board, not just by the sheriffs. And so there's been some lack of clarity as to whether or not local law enforcement and other municipalities have had to join, for the municipalities, we believe, that are by law supposed to be the jails. I do want to say we have two champions who have been there for us 100% of the time, Commissioner Kelly Martinez-Semrad and Commissioner Nicole Wilson. And I don't use the term champion lightly, because when we talk about democracy being under attack, immigration has become the reason why elected officials are threatened or not threatened. I am from Colombia, right? The threats that we experience is assassinations. But it's the same concept and theory of you get an envelope in Colombia saying you either do the right thing or here's a picture of where your kids go to school, right? Here it's you do the right thing or you're gonna go to jail. You're gonna get taken out of office and you're gonna have to pay thousands of dollars in fines out of your own pocket. And when these two champions decided that they were going to change the policy of Orange County and pull the county out of becoming a regional detention center for the entire state, and in some cases people from other parts of the country, these two champions said, this is the hill that I am willing to stand on, and you have to have consent if you want to have an agreement, right? Nobody else did that. And we have to think about what that means as voters, as US citizens, as the light of democracy, the beacon of light of democracy, because it was democracy in crises to get this to happen, and we folded and nobody said a thing. And we had two champions and nobody said a thing. And so we really need to have a consciousness about policies that are enabling the state governor to threaten people, the attorney general to threaten people. Monique Worrell, you might know a thing or two about this, right? But look where you are. You continue to be a champion, and you showed. If we want to get out of the ICE craziness, we need this to be an issue about democracy. And Tessa, the executive director of FLIC, has always said, you can't have immigrant rights if you don't have a democratic right. And that's where we come in. We can't have a democracy where we have the letters coming in via X, right, saying, here's the threat, this is what we will do for you. We need to make sure that we are consistently uplifting our champions and supporting those who want to be champions in knowing that we've got their rights and their backs.
Ryan, anything you want to add on that topic?
Sure. Yeah, and so Erica has been in front of the Board of County Commissioners for, what, a year plus? Certainly over the last 6 or 8 months, they've been asking the Board of County Commissioners and the mayor to file a lawsuit to clarify something called best practices, which the way the state law is written is a local official must give their best effort, I think I said best practices. They must give their best effort to coordinate and support immigration enforcement. I think the two commissioners in front of me would have a different definition of what that is compared to the Florida Attorney General, and thus that's kind of the conflict of where things are. I don't know if that lawsuit will move forward. It seems every time that they discuss this, which is fairly often, it seems to kind of move more in that direction. And I know the next time they're supposed to talk about it is April 21st. I've been told that that's kind of the next landmark day on this thing, because the county's also been negotiating with ICE. As they detain people at the jail, it costs the county, us taxpayers, $180 per day to house somebody at the jail. The county is reimbursed by the federal government $88 per day. They've been trying to close that gap. There was a deadline of April 1st or the end of March, and I don't know where that stands at this point. As far as I can tell, the negotiations are still going on, and so the county will hear more about that on April 21st and perhaps more about the lawsuit as well.
So ICE has asserted the right to enter homes with administrative warrants, to arrest individuals without warrants or without pending criminal charges. And they have acknowledged using surveillance, AI searches of social media, and facial recognition software, among other strategies to allegedly enforce immigration law. So I'd like to talk just briefly about how this erodes rights for all of us. Josephine, do you want to start there?
Yes, so are we good? Yes, thank you. So entering a home without a judicial warrant is a clear violation of Fourth Amendment unreasonable search and seizure. We're also, just point blank, so be prepared. If you want to support this for non-citizens or immigrants, then you're next, right? Then they'll be making up reasons as to why they can enter our homes, with solely administrative warrants. There's a reason why it needs to be a judicial warrant. A neutral party, not the same administration, not the same agency issuing the warrant. We're obviously seeing violations of Fifth Amendment rights of due process, 14th Amendment rights of equal protection. There is a law that was passed in Florida that says if you are an alien here unlawfully, that your crime can now be enhanced. So if you committed a first-degree petty theft, they can now charge you with a third-degree felony. I have 5 cases in Polk County where we just filed motions for unconstitutional. We have one that was raised to a punishable by life first-degree felony solely because they're claiming an illegal alien, which, mind you, he has a work permit, visa, and all of these other things, okay? So yes, we're seeing this erosion. What we're also seeing in a lot of our habeas cases is that the government is saying, oh, well, we had a warrant. Well, one, it's an administrative warrant, and guess when it was issued? 3 hours after the arrest. I mean, it's like, I literally feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone. Like every day I want to just like shoot that emoji with like the brain, like, blowing up. Like I honestly have no idea what's happening. And I'm stopped. Oh, I just wanted to commend again, Commissioner Martinez-Semred and Wilson, because leaders like you with courage is so important. So all of you who are running, I want to make sure that you know that you need to be a courageous leader, especially at this time and in this moment in our country.
So there's so much to talk about on these issues today that we've only begun to scratch the surface, but we want to preserve time for our Q&A. So we're going to open the forum now to league members to ask questions. Gina Hall will have the microphone. So please raise your hand if you need the mic to be brought to you. And after Q&A, please remain seated for some important league announcements.
Can you hear me? Hi, I'm Gloria Picard. Gina's not here right now. We're going to take questions from our members. So if you're a member, we would love to have you come up and ask a question. If you're not a member, now's the best time ever to become one. So go to lwvoc.org and join now. Okay, so I want to be sure that our members know that I want you to tell us your name, and I also want you to ask a question. We hope you're not going to make a speech. We don't have time for that, so go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jen Hall. I was wondering, either Erica or Ryan, I know you mentioned the disparity in between what we're getting paid versus what it costs us. So I was just wondering, like, if you have the idea of the amount it's cost taxpayers to obliterate the rights of our neighbors. Do you have an idea of like how much we spent last year as taxpayers to do that?
I do not. A lot of money. I have actually asked that question of the jail, and I don't actually have a good answer, and I think part of that is because of this negotiation where they're trying to figure out what to actually apply for. So I do know that that what we get reimbursed for as a county doesn't cover everything that it actually costs to detain somebody. There are actually some costs even over and above the 180 that just aren't reimbursable. So its costs actually even more than that.
The county has said on record last year at least 300,000. So that was before we had the December-January surge. And I think if you do the numbers that they gave us last year, we think it goes beyond the $1 million mark, but the county has acknowledged on record at least 300,000. Thank you.
Josephine, this is for you. People are hiring you to perform these services, correct? Who's advocating for the people that don't know their rights, don't know the language, don't have a lawyer, or don't have money for a lawyer? And second,
Erica.
I'm a naturalized citizen. If I got a DUI, could they decide that I'm no longer welcome to be a citizen and deport me?
Ooh, so that second question, there is a lot of discussions about denaturalization. I don't know if I lost the mic. I have a very loud voice in case, okay, here we go. So there is a lot of discussions about denaturalization, but I haven't seen it in practice, and I haven't seen any clients calling regarding that. Yes, we are a private law firm, so people are hiring us, and I believe organizations like Erica's and so many other of these grassroots organizations are really on the forefront helping. I really believe this is a village. I can only handle one case at a time, but in order to have a systems change and a framework change, we're going to need every single person in this room, every single organization, every leader, every attorney, every voter to really be out there and make an impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Had a question. Are we not requiring ICE to wear body cams? And certainly if it's a Florida or local law enforcement agent working on behalf of ICE, they would have body cams. Ryan, have you had any luck requesting that footage and getting hold of it?
Yeah, hello? I can also talk loud. Yeah, so I have seen some body camera footage out of St. Cloud. So body camera footage is very expensive to acquire. I was quoted one time for one individual traffic stop, several $100s, and was told I would get it in about 3 months. So it just kind of, it's agency to agency. It just kind of depends. You can get it, but in a lot of cases, you just got to be willing to spend the money and potentially wait the time. And on some of on the first part of the question, I probably defer to you on that one. if they're required to. I don't believe they are.
No, they're not, and I think that that's part of the negotiations that they're trying to have now with the whole funding, say, okay, like put body cameras on them, but then my thought was like, oh yay, now we're gonna have body cameras on them, but then how long is it gonna take for me to get it, right? If it's a criminal case, there's a rule that they have to provide it to us within 14 days of a filing of an information. So I'm guaranteed to get that. It's obligated, right, for the state to turn that over. But when it comes to these agencies, I mean, first of all, they don't have body cams, and if they do, what kind of rule are we going to implement then that forces them to hand over a body cam within a certain amount of time? Because we've also had the same issue where we do a public records request, and then it's like, oh, well, yeah, we'll get it to you, but in 3 months. Well, 3 months is too late.
Okay.
My name's Sally Martin, and I'm a retired school counselor. I am desperately worried about what's going on in public schools because of the terrible things going on. ICE comes to the door. My understanding is the principal says, I need to speak to the school board attorney. Speaks to the child. A principal told me that he asked, can I speak with you to the child? No. The question is, what can be done about ICE and what can be done about solving this problem? Erica, you mentioned it. It's terrible. They're scared to go to school. The parents are scared to send them. The kids, when they do go, are afraid their children are going to, the families are going to be picked up.
So what's going to be done?
Well, I think from the community perspective, we've had parents and organizations that have gone to the school boards and to the school districts themselves, specifically because of that concern of not being able to have anyone present, an adult present, a teacher present, to protect the child's rights. In fact, it's harder to get the student's paperwork. The paperwork has more rights than the child does, right? And so I think that that's number one priority, is like moving the school districts across the state to overcome the fear of being removed. I think we remember Broward County during COVID, 4 members got removed for not doing the masking. So this ongoing threat, again, continues to be a threat to our democracy. And then I think today or yesterday, it was announced that because of these cuts, they're now cutting mental health in our schools, right? So you have children who don't know if their parents are coming home. And by the way, US children saying, I am concerned if my parents are gonna be there, right? Like, this isn't just an immigrant concern. Our children are absorbing the fear. And now we're cutting mental health. So I think advocacy, champions, really is going to be what's going to make a difference. And obviously, civic engagement is key. And by the way, civic engagement is our voting rights are being taken away under the premise that these aliens have come to go vote, right? And so we need to ensure that we're continuing to fight for our own voting rights so that we can actually make a difference at the schools as well.
Okay, and we have time for one more question.
First of all, I want to thank the 3 of you for being the champions that you are in this field. Also, there will be a sunshine meeting about immigration on April 16th at 2 o'clock at the county admin. But my question for each of you, what can we do as a community to support your efforts?
I mean, first and foremost, April 21st. April 21st is the opportunity for every person here to make a difference. April 21st. If it doesn't work, April 21st. Plan on being there 8:30 in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 major decisions happening on that day, or 2 major discussions that as of yesterday, the mayor led me to believe that there's some action that will be coming on the 21st. The first ask is to remove ourselves from this ICE contract, the housing contract, that allows us to be the detention hold for the rest of the state and the nation. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the lawsuit, the Best Efforts lawsuit. How will we know how many times our elected officials are going to be threatened? How do we stop it? What are their rights and responsibilities under the law? And how do we make sure that they can play the democratic role, their First Amendment right, to represent us? So please mark it in your calendar, April 21st, 8:30, 201 South Roslyn, also known as the County Board of County Commissioners. County Administration Building. And the second thing you can do is call your county legislator and the mayor before then. It is so important for the League of Women Voters. You play such a unique and important role, and you have a voice of respect, integrity, nonpartisanship, democracy, women in action. Yes, men, welcome, thank you. But your voice is unique, and it's so important for it to be heard now. So please come on the 21st, speak, and please make your phone call to the mayor and the commissioners before then, because it will make a difference. It is important for the people fighting for democracy to be fighting for democracy on April 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to turn it back to Kate now to close us out, and then we'll turn it over to our president to end the day.
So I just want to say thank you so much to all of our panelists. You've done a fantastic job today. Let's give them a big round of applause as they return to their seats.
And to you, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to our moderator and our panelists. This was amazing. Thank you so much for taking time out of what is obviously a busy set of schedules to be with us today. You've given us a lot to think about and some meaningful action to take. If you show up on the 21st, I just want to say our National League has statements on immigration and due process. You have the opportunity to show up in league attire. I know sometimes we have to show up as individuals. Sometimes the Wi-Fi is out. That's what's causing this, by the way. Sometimes you have to show up as an individual. Sometimes you can show up as a league member. This is one where you can show up as a league member. So I hope you will do that. I want to just lift up that the 5th and 14th Amendments to our Constitution protect due process for all persons, not just citizens, not just those with documents, but all persons. And this weaponization of immigrants is being used, it is being created so that it can be used as an excuse to restrict voting rights for everyone, which brings us to things you can do, calls to action. In addition to all the things that you normally do, we have some special requests. First, the 60-day Florida legislative session ended without a budget. They will, at some point, reconvene to finish that task. Remember that it may have policy implications, so please remain attentive when that process resumes. Second, over the next few months, we will see the impacts of what did happen during that session, including lawsuits that it triggered, including some that the State League is involved in. Please take time to understand the League positions and the shifting landscape. There is a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding out there, and one of the things that we as a League can do is be well informed so that we can share that with our friends and neighbors. And then at the federal level, the so-called SAVE Act is being considered. This is in reality a voter suppression act. It creates unnecessary hurdles and will disenfranchise millions of voters. Please reach out to our senators to ask them not to make voting harder. Next, so we've got lots to pay attention to. Don't be overwhelmed. Be proactive. All right, we have some upcoming events. This Saturday morning, we have our annual membership meeting. It is in a new location at All Saints in Winter Park. Please join us there. Your registration will help us plan well. Thank you for that. And then we have a couple of things going on in the community that aren't specifically league events, but are very near and dear to our hearts. Engage in the community. Redistricting takes place next Thursday, April 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. Some of us will be attending this Central Florida Public Media event on redistricting, which is so near and dear to our hearts. Please join us. Then we have Celebrating Freedom. This speaks to league concerns, and our partnership with the organizers is getting us discounted tickets, so check that out in the newsletter. Join the the Florida Center for Government Accountability for a lively discussion exploring today's challenges in government accountability, First Amendment protections, and the importance of a vibrant independent media. And that's the 20th, that's a Monday from 5:30 to 7, and that's at the Orlando Museum of Art. And then following up on today, we have our immigration committee who has arranged a Know Your Rights training that will take place April 22nd from 6 to 8 on Zoom. This event will empower all of us to stand up for ourselves, but importantly for our immigrant neighbors and friends. Today, if you want to go deeper, we do have Hot Topics Overtime. This will give you a chance to know how you can get more involved. This will take place at 1:10 to 2 o'clock. It's upstairs in the meeting room in the Winter Park Event Center right behind us here. You can use the elevator. May I recommend it? The stairs are longer than they look. It's right on the other side of this wall behind the membership table. Erica will be there, Pastor Sarah Robinson of the Faith Leaders Network and the Orlando Singing Resistance, as well as Jackie Geralt of the 5051 Orlando. And join us in May, on May 13th, for Hot Topics, titled Rigged by Design, the Architecture of Voter Suppression. It just keeps getting hotter. Please do complete our event survey. We're listening. You see that we're making changes to the visuals that we're using. We do listen to you. We value your feedback, and we are adjourned. Thank you.